The first big piece of news that I'm going to be talking about is the NBA All Star game. It was honestly a pretty good All Star game. Reports have it that came in at 8.8 million views, which is the highest since 2011. And honestly, the game itself was pretty good. It was competitive. You had a game going into overtime. And honestly, Wemby was saying a lot during the entire All Star weekend, talking a lot. There's a clip of him and Jokic talking with Wemby explaining that he always reads a book before the games, and Jokic shaking his head in disappointment. And honestly, Wemby just brought some new life to the game. A lot of analysts on TV have been talking that without the players bringing the energy, no change in format is going to make a difference. And the players brought the energy this year. Wemby brought the energy. It was great. And Anthony Edwards responded in kind. So it was a great game. The players brought the energy. And overall, it was a lot better compared to previous years and previous formats of the All Star game. Honestly, I enjoyed the format too. It was a lot better than last year's format. I think that despite the final game with it being a relative blowout, the other games were good. And then when you look at the challenges from the All Star game, you had Damian Lillard won the 3 point contest, even though he has not played a single minute of basketball this season. And what is interesting, honestly, this was the most exciting thing for me about the All Star weekend. The 3 point contest next year could be amazing. Steph Curry said he'll do it if he goes against Dame, Clay, and other shooters. So if they bring back the OG players, the OG superstar shooters for that 3 point contest, I will tune in for that, and I cannot wait for that. And then dunk contest is slowly continuing to die. Keyshawn Johnson won, but the real storyline, Matt, 3 time dunk contest champion Mac McClung didn't participate. And a lot of people were saying, oh, he doesn't have the dunks to compete in the All Star Challenge. He didn't have this, that, and the third. He was running out of skills. When you go back and you look at what he was considering putting out for the dunk contest, like some of these are insane. Like you look at this first one, this first video, like how, what are we talking about here? That's insane. That's a 50 right there. You get that. He would have easily swept the dunk contest if he pulled off any of these dunks. Like, this is insane. I would have loved to see Mac McClung be in the dunk contest. Seeing this is just insane. I would have loved to see Mac McClung in there. And then the Shooting Stars, the Knicks claimed the Shooting Stars title. It wasn't exactly that interesting, but honestly, I enjoyed the All Star game. So here is to the player the players maintaining the competitiveness of the game, because that's really what it comes down to above everything else. It doesn't matter what people are saying. the format doesn't matter. It's the players that matter. When you look back at older All-Star games, it was the players that brought the competitive. The East versus West format, yeah, that's a classic. But it's just the players and the competitiveness. One change that I do think might make a difference is that instead of having everyone wearing the same jerseys, bring back the players wearing their own jerseys, representing their own teams. That might bring some passion, fuel some fire within them to make them want to represent for their team and do well for their team and increase the level of competition that Wemby started to increase this year. So, overall, good All-Star game. I enjoyed it. It was very, very satisfying. When you look back previous years, this was definitely a major step in the right direction overall. And then from the positive, we turn to the negative with Kevin Durant and his inability to stay off of Twitter. That man has had another burner account leaked, and some of the stuff he has been saying is ridiculous. We have some of them here. When you're talking about Sengun, he said, first of all, the username is insane. I'm not going to say that, but you can just read it for yourself. It's hilarious. We say, KD said, Coach called a play to pass to Alpi. Lol. I'm going to turn the ball over with this shitty ass team. I don't give a fuck. Your franchise player can't shoot or defend. That's a way bigger issue than my turnovers. Remember, these guys are your future. That is talking about his all-star teammate. And then when you look, these are your teammates. But then he came out the other day saying that he wasn't there to talk about the burner accounts. And he did lead the Rockets to a win. So there is that. Jabari Smith hasn't said anything. There's been no real outbreak from within the Rockets, which I guess is a good sign. But it wasn't just the Rockets. When we look at everything, it goes back to absolutely everything. He was on his phone, I believe, at the press conference or something at the All-Star game. So there was that issue. And then there's a whole bunch of other tweets. There's others when he's talking about Steve Kerr that I'm not gonna repeat, but it said it was related to Jordan punching him and how Kerr does not like dark skins anymore after that. So we're just gonna leave it at that. There are other ones that say when he started holding Steph accountable, the entire thing blew up. It's just insane stuff that has been coming out about Kevin Durant, and honestly, it's been an issue throughout KD's career. His burner accounts from earlier have been leaked. He said some not so great stuff. There's the infamous Scarlett Johansson bathwater, which is just insane. But KD is just known for his Twitter fingers, and that's not exactly a good thing when you're supposed to be this top 15 player of all time. But honestly, if if things don't get better, they are going to get worse. As it stands right now, I mentioned it before that KD led the Rockets to a win the other night. He led them to a 105-101 victory over the Hornets. And he dropped 35 points on 14 of 20 shooting from the field. He was efficient. So he had a good game. However, some of the stuff that he did say, like Sengun, 13 points, 6 of 16 from the field, 0 of 3 from 3, only 2 rebounds. Like, some of the stuff is accurate, but that's not exactly stuff that you should be going on Twitter and ranting about in these private group chats that, again, it creates so much discord. I have heard and seen so many more people talking about this and KD's burner accounts than the actual NBA games that have happened since the All-Star break. Like, I haven't heard anyone talking about the games that happened last night. Honestly, this has overshadowed the All-Star game too. I've heard more people talking about this than the actual All-Star game and how it was actually a good All-Star game, which is a bit concerning. And then we go from not good with Kevin Durant to even worse with tanking. The NBA and Adam Silver have said that they are trying to figure out a way to deal with the tanking. And from what I have seen, they are moving towards a possible solution. They're trying to enforce anti-tanking rules next season. Ideally, some of the ideas that have come out with first round picks can be protected from top 4 or top 14 plus. Lottery odds freeze after the deadline. They don't allow teams to pick in the top 4 in consecutive years. Teams can't pick in the top 4 after making the conference finals. I've heard them flattening out all the lottery odds, which has already made tanking worse. I think that honestly, all of these proposed solutions won't help the NBA in any way. Like, I think the worst proposal they had here was flattening odds for all lottery teams. I don't like that at all because as we've seen with the flattened odds, it's getting more teams to tank. Like, we've seen teams playing worse now that the odds are flattened compared to what it was before. I've mentioned it so many times on the show already. The Jazz with Jaren Jackson Jr. and the whole thing of benching their 4 players, their stars in the fourth quarter. Jaren Jackson Jr. is now out for the season. Things like that have been blatant tanking. I think that if you flatten the odds out for all the teams, that's going to get worse. So we just got that proposed solution's got to go out the door. That's not happening anytime this season. And then flattening out the odds at the deadline or a later date, that can't work either because then I think that decreases interest at the start of the season. You have teams coming out the gate trying to tank. And that's when the NBA is good. That's when the NBA, when people watch the league, it's not March basketball where no one cares anymore. It's, oh, start of the season, NBA's here. Let's enjoy the game. You have NBA Christmas, and you have all the games. That kills the entire first half of the season. You can't do that. It also kind of, in my opinion, that'll kill the trade deadline. Like, teams are tanking. So they won't really be concerned about trying to get off players or anything like that. So that solution also isn't great. The one solution here that I or the two solutions here that I'm not exactly opposed to would be not allowing the team to pick in the top 4 in consecutive years. That is not a bad proposal. That way it forces teams to, even if they tank, they don't get the reward. So there is that. And then there's also, it allows other bad teams to cycle in and be able to get better players, which is what ultimately the idea of the draft is for. So that, as a possible solution, is very high up there. And I like that overall. And then also, teams can't pick in the top 4 after making the conference finals. I also like that, again, because it limits how good these top teams can get. Like the Thunder last year made the conference finals. They couldn't be able to draft another pick with their million picks that Scam Presti has accounted for. Yes, Scam Presti, not Sam Presti. But I think those two would be ideal to implement. But then again, the NBA is trying to implement these next season. So I'm not a huge fan of them trying to rush the process and immediately react to it like they did with the load management and implementing the 65 game rule, which has failed horribly, has received backlash from everybody, from players to media to fans and everything in between. So even though some of the ideas are good, I don't think it's smart to rush the process and just dive straight into things off the bat, because then that has the potential to make things worse rather than better overall. And then this is related to tanking. The Kings, on the same day, have announced that Zach LaVine and Sabonis are undergoing season-ending surgery. The Kings are the worst team in the NBA. I ranked them dead last in my power rankings. If you didn't watch the power rankings, go tune in, episode 3. So clearly things didn't work out for the Kings this year. They started 3-7 to start off the season, I believe. These are their two highest paid players. They didn't make any interesting moves at the trade deadline. They got rid of Keon Ellis for whatever reason. I don't know why. And things are just getting worse and worse for them. After the Light the Beam season with Fox and Sabonis, they have just been getting worse. And I think that this is clearly tanking. They're aiming for a top 5 pick. Honestly, top 1 pick as it is now, with the low, as I've continued to say, I've been talking about this tanking for a while now. It's a loaded draft class. You have Darren Peterson, Cam Boozer, AJ DeBonsa, and also a bunch of other good players. So this is a clear. I hate saying this because I said it with the Jazz last episode too. It's clearly tanking, but they don't want to admit it. And this is the exact reason that Adam Silver and the NBA are trying to implement those anti-tanking rules and do something about it. So Kings will be without their star players for the foreseeable future, which I am not a fan of. But then again, the Kings are the Kings, and they have not done anything since ever. So there is that. And then we'll take a break from basketball and we'll go over to the Seattle Seahawks. I talked about this, I believe. I talked about it on one of the first episodes of the show, and it is official that the Seattle Seahawks are for sale. They released a statement that they have begun the formal process of selling the Seattle Seahawks. And I believe this is the first time that the team that had won the Super Bowl is going up for sale immediately after. And honestly, this is insane when you consider the Seahawks. This is relating to the power rankings that'll happen later on in the episode. When you look at the Seahawks, they have everything to continue being good. Their value is honestly skyrocketed after that Super Bowl. I think they're going to sell for around 7 to 9 billion with a B. This is insane to me. So, it's something that I reported on, and then when I saw that it might not happen, I was leaning towards the fact that it wouldn't happen because, like I said, this is the first time that a team who has won the Super Bowl has gone up for sale the next season. So there's something there, and whoever decides to buy it will be set up extremely well for the foreseeable future. We'll go back to the NBA. Most immediate news. Franz Wagner is sidelined indefinitely after he requires additional time to rehab soreness in his left ankle. He'll be reevaluated in 3 weeks. The Orlando Magic are middle of the pack as always. They have been struggling, which it's not fun. And Franz has missed 25 of his last 29 games since sustaining the high ankle sprain on December 7th. And it's the inconsistency that makes me upset with the Magic. Over last season and this season, the combination of Franz Wagner, Paolo Banchero, and Jalen Suggs have only played in 19 of 153 games. Like, they have the players to be good. Like, those are 3 good players right there, but they just are not available together at the same time. And then when you have Franz and Paolo playing together, they don't look good. When you have Franz on his own, he looks amazing. When you have Paolo on his own, he looks amazing. When you combine the two, they just don't look good. So they net out at like the 6th seed or like top of the play-in always. And that frustrates me as a fan. I rank them, I believe, like middle tier on the power rankings. It's just something that is always frustrating to watch when it comes out. And if only the Magic were able to do something about their health that wasn't this absolute dumpster fire that has happened. And then we'll continue on to Kyrie Irving. Dallas Mavericks point guard Kyrie Irving will miss the rest of the season to recover from his ACL that he suffered late in the season last year. And I've been saying this for a while. Nico Harrison's idea of a win now team with AD and Kyrie has been completely thrown into the dumpster and burnt to ashes. AD is now in Washington. I say in Washington, not playing in Washington because he does not play. And then Kyrie has suffered his torn ACL. Those two never played together. They played a half together, I believe. And then AD got hurt. So that never truly materialized. And then Cooper Flag. This doesn't really change anything for the Mavericks. They've been playing without Kyrie all season, and it's been the Cooper Flag show. Cooper Flag has been absolutely balling. He's proven why he deserved that generational label, that top pick label. He's been playing absolutely amazing. On the season, he's averaging 20 points per game, 6.6 rebounds. He's shooting 51.51.5 effective field goal percentage. So he's playing extremely well. I love that for him. But when you look at the Mavericks roster overall, they don't have the young talent around him. It's kind of looking like a Luka Doncic situation where it's just star player, absolutely phenomenal, and then crickets around him. Just nobody who can put things together. But I think that if Kyrie comes back, he's taken the whole season off, which is good. Don't rush that. He's an older player too. I think that if he comes back and you pair Kyrie with Cooper Flag next season, that is a good combination right there. I like that for them. Kyrie can provide that veteran mentorship on the court. You can also provide that scoring punch that Cooper Flag does not have from any other player. So I like that a lot for them. And then we'll finish out the news with the NFL. The window for franchise tags has opened and it will stay open through March 3rd. Some of the top candidates include George Pickens, Daniel Jones, and Alex Pierce, Kyle Pitts, Kenneth Walker, Trey Hendrickson, and Breece Hall. If I believe things haven't exactly been interesting. None of these players have been tagged yet. There have been speculations that the Cowboys won't tag Pickens, which I think is a huge mistake after what he did last season. When you look at it, George Pickens had an absolute monster season. No one expected him to do the things that he did. He put up 1,400 yards, 9 touchdowns, which is absolute insanity. And then you have other players. Daniel Jones is a bit of a question mark. He tore his Achilles. I think if the Colts are smart to put him on the franchise tag, they won't do what the Giants did and give him another contract, which royally cooked them. So, smart thing for the Colts would be to franchise tag Daniel Jones. Kyle Pitts, there have been a lot of speculation around Kyle Pitts. I've seen potential trades for him to Kansas City, bring in a nice big receiver, possibly heir to Travis Kelce. I wouldn't be opposed to that at all. And then, but it would be nice to see the Falcons franchise tag him and just keep the talent on the roster that they have had. It's tough though because they failed to use him properly. He hasn't exactly been playing well. I remember the first season with Arthur. It wasn't the first season, but the season with Arthur Smith. It was just decoys everywhere, and I'm like, why? You're ruining him. He was a top 5 pick as a tight end. That's insane. They just haven't been using him well. And then Kenneth Walker, I think the Seahawks will franchise tag him, just bring him back. Charbonnet got tore his ACL, so having Kenneth Walker, he showed out in that Super Bowl II, Super Bowl MVP. Keeping him around would be the smart thing because you don't know when Charbonnet is going to come back and at what percent. So having a true number one back like Kenneth Walker in the backfield, that would be the smart thing to do. And if they don't, I like Kyle Pitts. I've seen people mock him to the Chiefs to bring in an actual running back. So that would be interesting. I wouldn't be opposed to that. Just replace Pacheco and have Pacheco take on the Charbonnet role, kind of what Seattle did. So I'm not exactly opposed to that. And then you got Trey Hendrickson with the Bengals. that's a whole can of worms right there. There was the whole issue they didn't re-sign him last year. They were going to let him walk this year. I don't believe that they're going to franchise tag him. I think he's going to go somewhere else, which isn't exactly smart because the Bengals defense is non-existent and they kind of just have to rely on Joe Burrow and those two receivers, because I can't say the offense because the offense isn't great. It's just Burrow, Higgins, and Chase to kind of carry them to salvation. And if trends show, Joe Burrow will remain healthy this year. So it'll just be the Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, T. Higgins show, sadly. And then Brees Hall. I don't know. I don't know what'll happen there, honestly. There is a chance that the Jets bring him back, try to do something, but there is also a possibility that he walks. And then he is all like Kenneth Walker. He has been linked to the Chiefs. He was linked to the Chiefs at the trade deadline as well. I honestly like that for them. Honestly, just bringing in any help possible for Mahomes is smart. Like I've linked Pitts, Kenneth Walker, and Brees Hall to the Chiefs. Bringing in any one of those, even two of them, would be great because the Chiefs are not good. Mahomes is not playing with a good roster anymore. Travis Kelce is old and frankly not good anymore. They don't have Tyreek Hill on the outside anymore. Rashee Rice is not great. Like, they don't have options, so bringing in these free agents would be the smart thing to do overall. And then we'll move over to the Dolphins. They have released Tyreek Hill. He suffered that gruesome knee injury, dislocated his knee, tore his ACL, and all that. He'll be an unrestricted free agent for the first time in his career. And this move saves the Dolphins $22.8 million in the salary cap. And to pair along with Tyreek Hill, they also released Bradley Chubb. So they're just kind of shedding players with their new regime, new head coach, new general manager. They're trying to restart from scratch. And honestly, that is the smart thing to do. For Tyreek Hill, I don't exactly know where he's going to end up. He destroyed his knee relatively like at the middle of the season-ish. So there is a possibility that he comes back. It'll be interesting to see where he goes. Honestly, the Bills need an explosive receiver, which I don't know how explosive Tyreek will be once that comes back. But the narratives, if the Bills manage to win, will be hilarious. They can just pin it on the Chiefs of being Tyreek Hill merchants, which I wouldn't be opposed to. That would be hilarious for me. The Ravens also have a tendency to sign old, washed-up receivers, so that could also happen. The Titans also have a tendency to sign old, washed-up receivers too. They signed up old washed Hopkins, old Julio Jones, old Calvin Ridley. So there are some teams that could go for Tyreek Hill, but I don't know exactly what type of explosiveness he'll have coming off of that gruesome injury. And then when you look at Bradley Chubb, he's 31. Or no, he's not 31, but he's talented. There is potential there. He could go elsewhere. He was on the Broncos before he went to the Dolphins, I believe. So bringing him back to the Broncos would be filthy. Pairing him up on that defense would be disgusting. Honestly, pairing him up. Who else needs a pass rusher right now? Again, the Bills have proclivity for bringing in old pass rushers, kind of washed up. Joey Bosa, Von Miller. Bringing in Bradley Chubb would fit into that mold, that prototype right there. So that wouldn't exactly be the strangest thing that has happened overall. And then that will continue on with some of the other news. Relatively minor stuff. Lane Johnson is coming back next season. So here is to legendary Eagles career. Steph Curry has undergone further testing on his knee that kept him out for the All-Star weekend. And believe it was 5 games before that. So he has undergone further testing. It came back negative. So here's to that, but he will be ineligible for any postseason awards. He's missed too many games, so he won't be an All NBA, anything like that, which sucks. I don't like that. I trashed the 65 game rule earlier. It's ridiculous. It was a rushed rule. So that is pretty much the latest in sports